If you're at all familiar with Zone Wars or games of that type in creative mode, you recognize this right here. It's a damage trap. People use it to make storms. But this is some bullshit. This is the future, baby. Today we're going to be looking at the new advanced storm controller that they put in creative mode and how you can make both randomized storms and predetermined storms for your own maps. So let's get it.
What did you want me to say again? Don't forget to use the code HK21 in the shop.
Well. Welcome back to the dojo, my friends. And today we are going to be looking at how to create storms for your creative mode islands. And fortunately for all of us, me included, this is significantly less confusing than my channel's tutorial video. However, the storm controllers are pretty clunky right now, and there's some settings that you should avoid, and there's some like unwritten rules about them which I'm going to help clear up to save you guys the embarrassment of starting your game and having the storm look like shit. So, the first thing that we're going to look at is going to be the advanced storm controller up here, this tall boy. And if we throw this down, this is going to be our primary means for creating a storm. So if we take a look at the settings here, you will see that by default, it's set to make a randomized storm. Now, that doesn't mean that it's completely random, and this is where I have a problem with how Epic kind of set this thing up. The center point of your circle for your phase 1 is not actually this device right here, but rather it's somewhere within these 200 meters here. So not only is the radius of your first storm how big it will be, but also where the chance of the circle spawning is going to be. So let me break this down for you in a less confusing way. So if we set it at 20 meters, you can see the size of our first circle, how big it is going to be. Okay? So not only is this how big our first circle is going to be, it's also the selection point for the center of the circle. So the center of the storm could end up right here, right on top of the storm generator, or it can end up all the way on the fucking edge or something like that. And this becomes a problem when you have an island like this incompleted one here, where obviously I wouldn't want the storm to end up over here. So we would need the storm circle to be, the storm generator to be where it is now, like right here in the center of this half. But here's the issue. We would want people to also enjoy up here, or down here for instance. So we would want our radius to be bigger. But the problem is that the bigger that we make our radius, like 100 meters, the bigger that we make it to include more playable area, the higher our chances are that the storm's first circle point will end up right here. And let's say the first circle is right here at 100 meter radius. Well, now the next circle has a chance to end up again like on the edge of that circle. So when it comes to creating randomized storms, you have to find a comfortable balance between including most of your island in the first circle, as well as making it so to like in a way that is going to reduce the chances of your storm ending up in the fucking ocean. Okay, so just to show you what I mean, we're gonna set our storm radius to be a little bit bigger, or we're gonna set it to include most of my island. So we're gonna set it at 100. So at 100 meters right here, it includes all the playable area, but let's run through 5 games to give you an example of like the diversity of where the center point could lie. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So, as you can conclude, randomized storms are a little bit of a pain in the ass. Even though we set the radius like relatively small at 100 meters, to the point where it's cutting off, a lot of our islands, storms were still ending up like way up here or way down here, to the point where if we kept like going with those generations, you would see that, the end circles could end up way down here or like way off the island. And just randomized storms kind of suck. So If you must use randomized storms, my tips for you would be to make the radius smaller than you think that they should be, and make sure that you're placing your storm controller in the most optimal spot for your island as possible. Okay? So now that we figured out how terribly RNG storms are in this game, let's get into talking about how to better control the RNG, and more importantly, how to pick exactly where your storms are going to end up. And how we're going to do that is through this device right here, an advanced storm beacon. So if we throw down this short boy and take a look at the settings, you will see that from the top here, each of these short ones controls a different phase of the storm. So this controls phase 1, and if we want to change this to 2, that's going to control the second phase of the storm, and then you could fuck with, you know, like the damage that it does and how big it's going to be and all that. But in order for these to start controlling the storm, we need to switch this off of being default and make it to custom. And another thing, which this is going to be confusing, okay, but it's just a workaround for epic shitty programming. But another thing that I found is that if you leave your starting phase at 1, this device is going to conflict with this one, which is also set to phase 1. So in order to work around that, we're going to actually set the starting phase to 2, and we're going to leave this one, which is set to 1, and these two off on their own to do fuck all. Okay, now this, even though it's set to 2, this is going to be the starting phase. And like I said, even if you don't understand it, currently it's just kind of bugged out if you start on phase 1 and use these two and blah blah blah. Okay, so just trust me on the settings here, and I'm going to even move these away from the bastard children. To show you guys how to put the storms exactly where you want them. So, in order to get the storm exactly where you want it, you're going to go down to this setting right here, movement behavior, and set this to move to beacon. Now, we're also going to change the end radius just so you can see it. And the shrink time, so I'm not sitting here forever. There we go. Now, when we start the game, the storm center is going to end up exactly in this point right here. So just to show you guys what I mean, we're going to start the game. And you will see that we are in the direct center of the first storm. Boom. Alright? See, I told you guys. Even if it was confusing before, you just gotta believe me, okay? So now, because we have our settings squared away with the two devices that are over there, it just gets easier from here on out. Let's say that we want the next phase of the storm to be over here. All we gotta do is add 1 to the equation and make sure that it's set to move to beacon, and now we have a perfectly predictable path for our storms. Let's say, however, that you want a little bit of RNG into your maps, but not so much that you're ending up in the fucking ocean. You can mess around with this move randomly setting, but again, just because of Epic's coding, it's a little fucking annoying to play with, okay? When you set this to move randomly, it chooses anywhere on the island to move to, okay? It's even picked storms that are completely off the map and like on the starting island. In order to fix that, we're gonna change the move distance minimum. You're gonna set these to whatever you want them to be. And again, this is Epic's fault. It's not choosing 20 meteors. It's not choosing 20 meters randomly from this spot here. It's actually choosing 20 meters from this spot here. Okay? But look, you're the one that wanted RNG into your map. I'm just telling you how, okay? I'm sorry it's confusing. But to prove that, we're gonna put this over here, and we're gonna change this to 10. So now, after this phase of the storm, it's going to choose the next circle to be 10 meters minimum and maximum distance, so 10 meters exactly, from this device right here. So from the previous device. So just to prove it, we're going to start the game. And as you can see, the first circle is exactly where we put it at, and the second circle, this one right here, is 10 meters from the invisible device that's right over there. Okay, so here's how you can add a little bit of RNG to your game, but it's not as wild as using the tall boy, the tall storm controller. And that is going to be it for creating your own storms. I know that it's a little bit confusing, and I really wish that I had an easier way to explain it to you, but just because of the way Epic programmed these, there's some workarounds that you have to use, and you have to, I don't know, I had to spend a lot of time figuring out why these settings are so retarded and how to work around them. But if you have any questions, I would be happy to help you. You can even add me on Epic, and I can help you get the settings correct. A little private little lesson for you guys if you really need it. And if Epic does implement easier settings for these, I will be happy to make another tutorial for you guys and show you how to work with the new cleaner settings. And let's pray to fucking God that they end up doing that, because as you can see, these workarounds are annoying, and I really had to spend a lot of time trying to figure out why things are so confusing and why things are broken. So thank you guys for watching. Seriously, if you have any questions, I will read every goddamn comment, okay? As you can tell, I'm not a big YouTuber, so I got the time, baby. Thank you for watching this all the way through. Subscribe if you like my content, like the video, all that BS. Oh, I guess probably use my creator code in the shop, because I mean, who else are you gonna use, right? Look at the time I spent for you guys to learn all these stupid settings, okay? But thank you guys, and I will catch you next time. Peace.